My name is Aram, and my pronouns are he, him. I'm the writer and producer of the Dungeons & Dragons podcast, God's Fall.
My name's Dylan. My pronouns are he, they, and I'm a physicist from Canada.
Welcome to Kill Every Monster. In this episode, we are featuring the Oblex.
The monster manual describes the Oblex as a slime capable of assaulting the minds of other creatures. These pools of jelly are cunning hunters that feed on thoughts and memories.
We are joined by Diana Fay. Diana, she, her, is a TTRPG content creator who specializes in teaching people how to be better players and DMs by providing life hacks, shortcuts, and formulas to upgrade their game. She is also a social media consultant and will be at a ton of cons this year, including Gen Con, TwitchCon, PAX West, and PAX Unplugged. You can find her at Diana of the Rose on all platforms, and as the podcast host for Worlds Apart. Welcome to the show, Diana.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, we've been talking about this since, middle of my grad students showing, because I was like, oh yeah, the middle of the winter semester.
We've had some of these recorded for well over a year.
It's coming, I swear.
We did it, and we'll get it to you soon. It's nice to get ahead, but then you have all the stuff you have to work on.
All the stuff you have to work on, and I have to sit there quietly being like, yeah, I did my job good.
Teamwork.
Yeah. Diana, what's an Oblex?
So an Oblex is one of the creatures that I've been hoping to use in a campaign for roughly 3 years now, and I never get around to it. It's a little bit lesser known because it's newer. It was released in 5e, so it's not one of those legacy creatures, same way in Beholder or any dragon or really any illithid, anything at all would be. It's brand new, and it came out during the release of Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. And unlike most of the monsters that came out in 5e in general, this one was actually created by a fan. There was a guy out there, a child named Nolan Whale, who created it as part of the Make-A-Wish program, actually. Wizards brought him in because his wish was to work with the creative team of D&D for a day, and the Oblex was one of the creatures that came out of it.
I didn't know any of that.
I did some research.
I didn't know any. I was here under the impression that the Oblex was a creature that's been around for a while.
I mean, it's tied to the illithids, and so you would think so. The whole thing is that they came about when these mind flayers decided to start conducting experiments, as they do, on slimes. And so since the illithids have been around for forever, you'd assume that the Oblex would be as well.
And it just sounds so much like something they do. So it just feels like part of the origin story. That kid did a really good job.
I wish I knew what else he worked on. Apparently he sat down and just did a bunch of riffing, and this was just one of the things that came out of it.
And looking over the stat block, it is one of the creatures that seems like it's actually doing the job it says it does.
It's got some really cool abilities mixed in there.
We talked about it a little bit. There's a lot of stuff that requires a little bit of rejiggering in the stats to match the lore. You read it and you go, that's so cool. I'm going to do an entire campaign about the Nothic. That is my favorite example of this whole thing. And they don't support that. They're not good enough for it. They're just not powerful enough. You have to rework. This is good shit.
We also talk a lot about how monsters don't have the background. They don't have the architecture around them. This one is so nicely tied into the system already. It shows what another creature's doing, how they're interacting, how they're changing the world around them, and also introduces a whole new interesting thing to then add to your campaign.
And in the right context, you could do an entire one-shot based off of this thing alone and have it be a proper mystery, proper hooks. It's really exciting, and it's terrifying.
Yes. Yes.
You get into battle with this thing, it is scary. It's the type of thing that, this will be shown later, I'm sure, but you get 2 hits in and you're like, okay, this is not worth it.
It also could be so many other things.
It looks like a slime, like you guys mentioned, and it comes in 3 different forms. There's the tiny version, which is, I believe they call it an Oblex.
I think it's a spawn.
Spawn?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this little CR one quarter thing. It's
fella.
useless functionally.
It's like something Venom would leave behind on a bar. It's like that little guy.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And then it's got some other forms as well. There's an adult version, which is medium. It's got a CR of 5. And then the elder version, the real scary one, is huge, and it's got a CR of 10. And so it works for different levels of play. You could even have a little bit of a hook where you run into this thing when it's tiny, when it's, this little CR one corner stain on the floor, and you let it go because it's not really going to hurt anyone. Why would you? You don't know what it is. Just let it crawl off into the shadows. And then 4 sessions later, it comes back way bigger, way scarier, and way more of a problem.
You fight the shitty wizard, you knock over the thing that looks like a potion vial, and you just go like, yeah, it sizzles, there's acid on the floor now. And then as you're going like, yeah, the puddle got up.
It's so much more than just some creature that, consumes things, gets rid of the evidence, and becomes a standard, just get in and kill it and get out sort of contract. It is smart. It is dangerous. It's manipulative, too, to a degree that we don't usually see in creatures of the ooze category. If you look at the elder version, the older it gets, the more languages it knows. The elder version knows common plus 6 other languages.
Yeah, I just realized I was just looking at the spawn, and it's got a 16 dex and 15 con. I mean, it's even tiny. It's tough.
Plus 2 charisma, plus 4 intelligence. It's a genius level intellect. They're pretty beefy. And Aram, how much did you read about the thing? How much is this going to be? Dylan and Diana tell you cool things about a goop monster.
I glanced at it. I like to go in as blind as some things I just know about. This one I didn't know much about, so yeah.
The crux of the thing is they eat memories and personalities. And once they've piled up too many personalities inside them, one of the personalities falls off in a massive goop. And that's what the spawn is one guy's memories.
It's literally Venom. Okay.
Yeah.
Gross.
It's just,
gotcha.
It's wandered around, it's eaten enough guys, and now there's a new guy wandering around. And once it starts getting big enough, it gets bigger and bigger as it eats more personalities.
Right. Are you still part of it then? If your personality's there, is your soul there?
DM's discretion at that point. It's a copy of your soul. Is it actually you? What's that one boat where if you take it apart and build it back together again, is it like the same boat or
Theseus?
That's the one.
I like to draw the line between the soul and the body real hard, because there's a lot of stuff you can do that fucks with the body, right? Like necromancy, generally, the way I run it, has next to nothing to do with your soul. It is effectively just magical biology. It's hijacking the mechanisms of a body to make it do shit. Which is why zombies are always shit.
Yeah.
If you really just only have the meat running, there's only so much you can get. This is the same sort of thing. You're taking an imprint of the brain and the knowledge you have and the things you've experienced, but the soul isn't there, which is what makes it approachable to the players when you're fucking with them later. Because I don't think we've mentioned the big trick. I will leave that to you, Diana, if you want to tell them the cool thing it does.
So the best part about this creature is that it has this ability called sulfurous impersonation, which, first of all, amazing name for an ability just to start off. And essentially what it can do is it can create protrusions, like pieces of itself in a nearby area as a bonus action, mind you. This can be done in combat. And that protrusion takes on the shape of some creature or humanoid that it has fully consumed the memories of.
Oh, Jesus.
And so any victim that has fallen prey to it could be reborn, more or less, quote unquote, reborn, as an extension of this creature. And it has perfect mimicry to the point that you cannot tell by any real means that it's not actually the person. It has perfect speech, perfect mannerisms, all the memories that you would need to, have if you were to go up and quiz the local bartender and be like, hey, what's my name? They would have an answer for you because they know everything this bartender knew. The only way you can tell is it smells slightly of sulfur.
Which must be a little common in a 1400s world, Just a blacksmith. They wouldn't think anything of it.
It's not a direct line either, because demons, devils, anything vaguely infernal, you also associate with sulfur. You also, like you said, blacksmiths, if you cast fireball enough times, just a random wizard, an apothecary. There's a lot of ways to generate that smell, which is why I kind of lean towards the mimicry has to be a touch soulless. You're imitating the way the person behaves just to give them a shot. just to give them like a little bit of like, you don't seem like you.
You've got the like they can pull up the record, right? There's like an imprint of what happened up until X, and you can pull that record up whenever you want to and respond perfectly, but you're the chat GPT of people.
Yeah, you stole all of your training data.
That's terrifying.
My grad degree is on AI shit, so I'm extra grumpy about.
And because the Oblex is way smart enough to use that information, it can simply just feed on a whole family or a village, just pick off one person by one and use the rest against them.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Especially because it's picking them off one by one and they're not leaving town.
Right.
So they do have to stay within 120 feet of the like massive Oblex itself, and they're connected to it by basically a very thin, slimy filament that's almost impossible to see. It's impervious to damage, and it's just like a little thread. So you'd have to know to look for it even in game. And it can do, I think the Elder Oblex can do like 2d6 plus 1 different creatures at the same time.
It's 2d6 plus 1, which, for the record,
Small town.
I'm going to quickly object to that, because if they grow by gaining more personalities, and an adult Oblex gets 1d4 plus 1, the minimum number of people in an Elder Oblex should be 5.
Right.
It got to be the biggest an adult can be, so it should be bigger than that. But that is a petty
What is the
gripe.
limit? What are they limited to? I wonder.
Well, 2d6 plus 1, 13.
No, I know, but like, it's like, why physically? Like, is there just not enough room for the like in the body? Is the mind can only control so many things before it breaks? Like, what is keeping this Oblex from getting 100 heads?
If I had to guess, I'm willing to bet it's a mass thing, because these sort of sulfurous impersonation protrusions, they are considered part of the creature's body. And so if you were to attack one of them, it's the same as the creature. It would still take damage and things like that. So I'm guessing it's like it's basically its own pseudopod, like a living, breathing, quote unquote, pseudopod.
It's like one of those things where if you're holding something in one hand, holding something in another hand, you try, and like sometimes if you're doing too many things, your hand will just forget because you can't focus on everything, and you'll just drop something because your body's doing too many things. It's got to be something like there's only so many nerve endings.
In terms of the actual, like, if you want to put a scientific limit on it, we can talk about whether it's mass or how it interacts or a certain weird interference pattern in different psionic energies, and so it hits a certain amount. But just sort of the loose in universe, like the simplified explanation without getting into the why, is when it hits too many, one of them falls out and is a spawn.
Right. That's what happens.
So
okay, that makes sense.
You've got the 14th guy, and maybe you can roil around with that much mass for a little while, but eventually you just sort of leave a goop behind you.
You just lose focus for that 1 minute, and someone breaks away. Yeah. And imagine there must be, like, even if they're records, they must always be, like, trying to break away. Like, there must be a baseline impulse that's, like, be an individual again, as opposed to part of this huge mass.
So because since this creature is brand new to 5e and relatively young as far as the lore goes, there's not a whole bunch of lore on it, but one of the little snippets it was like a throwaway sentence when I was doing research on this, said that if the Oblex doesn't leave that protrusion behind and doesn't sort of like reproduce by splitting, it actually goes insane because of the personalities that it holds.
Oh, that's cool. I like that quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it too and start going down that line of questioning, you can have a whole separate plot point on its own where it's like, what happens if someone physically contains an Oblex or an Oblex in a confined space so that it physically can't separate itself? And, maybe the adventurers stumble across it and it's imprisoned, but at the same time, they just hear it switching languages mid-sentence trying to plead with them. It's, you see different faces popping in and out with too many eyes, too many limbs. It's trying to find some form, but it physically can't. Something like that would be insanely interesting and also provide a moral quandary for your players where you're like, wow, do we free this thing? It's kind of sad, but also then you have 2 Oblexes running around. So
I also love the idea of like you could enter a town and the whole town is just these Oblexes being puppeted, and you could maybe overwhelm it, but like if you figure it out, like, okay, we're gonna split up, you talk to the shopkeeper, you talk to the stableman, you talk to the mayor all at the same time, and distracted enough that I can get to the main body. There's a lot you could do with this monster.
Oh gosh, it's a shame that it's not written into anything as far as I'm aware yet. And honestly, it's one of those kind of, I don't know, undersold, underutilized type creatures.
It deserves a good story. You're absolutely right.
There is one minor hole in the lore we're presented with, which I'm really going to hold against the Make-A-Wish kit. Should have done better. So I'm going to read you the Mordenkainen blurb that they have written in here. An Oblex wants memories, but not to serve any end of its own making. Oblexes are hungry for memories and personalities because they are empty without such nourishment. In this way, they serve their creators, illithids. An Oblex in the range of an Elder Brain powers provides everything necessary for the Mind Flayers to find choice victims. It isn't like bringing back people. It's functionally like, if it's in range of the Elder Brain, same sort of interaction as a Mind Flayer where the Elder Brain can read its minds, which means now this Oblex is puppeting 17 people on the surface. That's more than 13. It's puppeting 7 people on the surface and getting all of the recon of there's a new guy in town that no one will miss and seems clever.
That seems clever part is really big too, because it targets specifically, and this is something that you should know if you're running it in combat, people with high intelligences. And so it's of highest value to the Mind Flayers is the thing that it goes after first.
It's almost like the Elder Brain is dropping off a little Wi-Fi router.
Yeah.
And like, now I'm going to connect to you and I've got this like extent of my raid.
A little signal booster.
Yeah, there could be like maps of those guys going out miles and miles, just connecting one to the next.
I'm just trying to figure out what the monsters or what the Mind Flayers want. Because I think the Mind Flayers specifically get off on like experience. Like it's an experiential thing for them.
Which
do get off eating the flesh, but mostly it's the psychic energy.
Which makes it interesting that these things aren't telepathic.
It does. Well, maybe that was a purposeful limitation. But you're right. That is a weird choice.
Well, you don't need them to be psychic if you've got it like hooked into the Elder Brain. It doesn't have to be psychic if you got something sufficiently psychic near it.
I don't need you to be psychic to give you psychic orders. I just need you to be able to hear them.
That's a good point.
Or to read your mind. They literally want the meat, but they experience euphoria as they devour the brain, along with the memories, personality, and innermost fears. So the things the Mind Flayer is consuming are psychic in origin. Like I said, just the experiential elements. The Oblex wants smart fuckers. Which, like, I don't know if you know a whole bunch of nerds. As a D&D podcast, we probably don't. But we tend to be reading inside types of kids. I probably am not that delicious to a Mind Flayer because, like, I've spent 20 years in education just learning about fucking physics. It's been tedious. I might be useful to an Oblex because I am someone who is going to be in one place, just in town, just at a coffee shop, working on a dissertation, watching people, having intelligence and enough processing power to let you start putting things together, watch patterns, recognize who could be grabbed. You know, they're effectively building a supercomputer, whereas the Mind Flayers are getting high on people who do fun shit.
Right.
All the frat boys versus the honors college kids. It's kind of the difference between intelligence and wisdom in the end, you know?
Maybe intelligence and charisma, arguably, but
oh, maybe.
who knows?
Yeah, actually.
Neither of them want wisdom. All that god shit can fuck off. It doesn't taste good at all. The next bit feels very cut and dry. Hey, Diana, are these monsters?
I mean, I guess if you think about it on like the grand cosmic scheme, no, I don't think so. To me, at least, it functions more, given just that it's got this single primary directive and doesn't seem to gain too much actual like pleasure out of it. It's just something that was coded into it experimentally by the Mind Flayers. You know, this need to hunt and to track down people with high intelligence and use these hunting abilities to set these ambushes. It kind of rings the same way in my mind as like a pitcher plant would. You know, is a pitcher plant inherently evil for ambushing things like mice?
Yeah, less a monster or a predator and more just like a noun that sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Like inherent evil or inherent good is all subjective, but also it is in the tome of monsters. So like a monster, yes, but also no.
We do run into the frequent problem that we come to our guests and say, hey, pick a thing out of a monster manual. Is this a monster? And they go, well, if you read the thing that you gave me.
The book seems to think so.
Right?
But you're right. Like it doesn't Is it fair to call something that's been created with a specific purpose,
With no autonomy.
with no autonomy whatsoever, and then it fulfills the purpose it was created for? Does that make it a monster? That doesn't seem fair.
Is my desk a monster?
It is every time I bang my knee on it that it's a monster. Something can feel monstrous to a person without it being a monster.
Oh, 100%. This kind of goes down a tangent that I ran into a lot when I was studying zoology back in college, is the concept of nature and whether or not it can be evil. And the general answer is no, but we tend to ascribe all these positive or negative traits to things in the wild. So it's why you'll see commercials about feminine hygiene products or whatever that have these serene images of jungles and waterfalls and, like harmony in nature and things like that. And it's like, if you actually went to that site, you would see 7 billion different species of things trying to all kill each other at all times. And is that necessarily evil, or are we just calling it evil because that's what we're used to in the human world? So it's got a whole moral questioning that we probably don't need to get into in this episode.
There's a passage in one of the Animorphs books that stuck with me for like decades, where Tobias, in case anybody isn't familiar, is a dude who got turned into a bird permanently, got stuck. He's not so much an Animorph anymore as an anima. He gets the morphin back eventually. It's cool. Doesn't get the people back. But anyway.
Dylan!
Spoiler. I was going to read that.
There's a point where he's talking about how, like, he doesn't talk to his friends about what he eats because he's now a fucking hawk and has to eat like a hawk. So now he's sitting in the top of this, like, tree, and he's thinking about how his one friend would really judge him if she knew that, like, I just watched this family of bunnies going across the ground, and I'm going to kill and eat the baby. I have to kill and eat the baby because if I kill and eat the mother, it feels less horrifying to humans, but now every single baby is going to die for no fucking reason. That baby is going to die because I need the nutrients, and that mother is going to have another baby. Nature.
Now I just have so many more questions about the Animorph series, because I assumed that it was like a...
It's fucking great. They're like 100 pages, but they're also written for like 3rd and 5th graders to be able to power through.
Yeah.
So like you can read like 2 or 3 in a night, and they are in some places fully fucking horrifying.
It seems really intense.
The entire point of the series is that the horrors of war are unavoidable, and even your heroes will be monsters.
Oh.
For kids.
It's so fucking good. Like, even if you don't want to read the books, the entire series ends on a dour note.
Really?
Like, it is one of those things where it's like, war never ends.
Careful.
I'm going themes, chill.
Okay, thank you.
But the author got so much shit for the ending of the series that she put out a letter, like, and this was during the Iraq War and everything, that amounted to, oh, you got a problem with the book about war being bad ending on the note that wars don't end well and no one will end happy coming out of a war? Fucking write to your congressman then.
Yeah.
Good response.
Like, it's not my problem that this is what war does.
Anyway, welcome back to the Animorphs discussion podcast.
We do have a sideshow that is that, and then I had a kid and we couldn't keep up on it.
Yeah, that's why I haven't finished them yet.
Whether they're monsters or not, is there anything about an Oblex that you would change in the monster manual?
I will say stats stuff is my Achilles heel, one of several as a GM. So it's kind of hard to say with regards to, I mean, looking over the stat block itself, it seems pretty straightforward. The stats change in a way between the life cycle stages that makes sense. As it gets bigger, it loses dexterity a little bit, gains constitution. That all seems to make sense. I did talk a little bit earlier about the idea of adding telepathy, but I think that would maybe make more sense for an Oblex in isolation of the Illithid colony, which isn't how the lore goes, but maybe if you had a situation where someone created it slightly differently than the Illithids do, or maybe some mad scientist out there got a hold of their recipe, tweaked it a little bit, and then made a better Oblex that has the ability to hunt with this new telepathic ability. Maybe if it does a memory suck on someone, it gets one of those hits off, and from there on, it can start speaking to it telepathically and try and convince it to give up the rest of its memories, or kind of go into that mind-bending sort of like manipulation side of the creature, because it has a lot of manipulative potential.
I do like those like connection forging moments that like change the conflict over.
Yeah.
Even just the simple shit of like, if I get into your head, you have disadvantage on saves now. I'm in already.
It can't read your mind, but it can detect thoughts.
That's true.
Which I kind of like. I like the fact that it can't get fully in your head. It has an idea of what you're thinking, probably a pretty good idea, but it doesn't fully hear your thoughts. It just can glean a little bit off them.
Every one of the extruded people functions as a part of the Oblex, which means every one of them is an origin for a spell.
Oh.
So if it casts Detect Thoughts, it's a 60-foot cone from where it can see, which is now, in terms of raw diameter,
So from any of those locations.
13 people spread out across a 240-foot wide circle.
Would you let it activate at any point? Or would you let them, like, you have to spend a bonus turn to, like, switch to that perspective?
No, because it's perceiving from all of them at all times, right? Like, they're all eyes.
Oh, man. So it would just be active from everyone at the same time. Anything it could do that it could do through one realm of vision, it could theoretically do from all of them at the same time. You could detect magic sweep a whole town.
Yeah.
Just from having enough eyes active at the same time.
Yeah. So, Detect Thoughts, range self.
What counts as self?
You can focus on any one creature that you can see within 30 feet of you, and all of the extruded bits do. It specifically calls that out in the Sulphurous Impersonation. The Oblex occupies its space and the simulacrum space simultaneously. So it is in all of those places.
That unlocks whole new strategies.
It creates a bunch of shit where, like, which leads into the thing that I would change mechanically about it, which is that it has its X per day spells that it can cast through psionics. By the time it's an Elder Oblex, I want to give it spell slots. I don't want to give it spells. If it eats a fucking wizard, though,
It can use those spells.
I was going to get into that. That being the other thing that I feel like it should be able to steal is if you're stealing all this knowledge and all these memories, you should be able to know how to do intelligence-based casting.
There's so many creatures who should be smart enough to use spells and just don't. A dragon should be able to pick up a wand. There are things out there people should be able to use, tools and spells and scrolls and everything. There's no reason why an Oblex would not have access to that. I do like the idea that they're limited by their own internal spell slots, but you're right. If they get the knowledge, that's how magic works. They should be able to use it.
every time it hits you, you get a d4 subtracted from your ability checks and attack rolls. And every time you get hit, the die size increases. When it's a d20, you fall unconscious. The Oblex learns all the languages of a memory drain target, which is at any level, including the first one, the d4. Learns any languages you know and gains all of your skill proficiencies.
Wow.
Why wouldn't it also get the wizard spell list? Everything you have prepared, I now have prepared, and it wouldn't take away from the character. You still get your spells,
Right.
but now I can also throw them at you, which means you now have, again, 6 or 7 guys scattered around the edges of the map who are all potential point sources for lightning bolts.
In the end, it just elevates the strategy required to kill it and also to play it on the DM side so you don't get bored just being like another stack of hit points that has to be reduced to 0.
Exactly. Yep.
No, I think aside from the detect thoughts, that would be my only criticism, is you created such a cool idea with it technically occupying multiple spaces. Give me something that can fuck with that a little bit.
If this thing is working like Rogue, if Rogue touches Doctor Strange, they get Doctor Strange's spells. That's how that works. This should get the same abilities.
Do they?
Oh, yeah. When Rogue takes your powers, she takes all of your abilities, all of your knowledge, everything you can do, Rogue can now do. She knows everything you've known, so she could easily wield the magic. Because the magic is just knowledge and technique. They're not actually taking any powers, so as soon as she gets that, she can use magic. The only exception is when she tried to absorb the Scarlet Witch's powers. And the Scarlet Witch is just so damn crazy, and her powers kind of require her to be crazy, that she wasn't able to do anything with it. Otherwise, she can use magic, no problem, because it's just the knowledge of how to do it.
Okay, but I'm not going to argue about what has happened in comics. I'm going to argue with what her powers do and what they should do.
That's fair. But her powers do lots of shit there.
Comics are dumb.
Welcome back to the Marvel Discussion Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon.
We're very focused, okay? We're professionals and adults.
I love this. If only I knew more about Marvel. I came unprepared. As far as like what else would change, I feel like an honorable mention goes to the lovely folks over at The Monsters Know What They're Doing, where they pointed out that there's a little bit of I guess, lore gapping going on with regards to, I mean, obviously it's a new creature, but also with things like how the impersonations and the simulacrums? What's the plural of simulacrum?
Simulacra, yeah.
So there's some gaps with regards to how the simulacra are mechanically defined. So for example, that tether is defined as not having, it's invulnerable, it doesn't have its own hit points. But what does it take to be able to detect it? Because it's supposed to be near indetectable. It's like a filament in theory. So having that not have like a DC to be able to spot is a little bit weird. You have no idea how far out the actual summoning of, like, in the moment, those simulacra can go. Like, is it just assumed that they can only appear right next to the creature itself, and then it has a 120 foot, like, fishing line range? Or can you summon it up to 120 feet away?
Based on what the thing is, like, because it's an ooze, I would assume it has to extrude the person. Like, it must create the simulacra within 5 feet because it's got to walk out of the massive goop, and then it can move at its speed. Is just the way.
It would be nice if they said that, though.
Which is only 20 feet, by the way.
No,
not a lot.
Its speed is 20 feet, but if it's imitating a dude, like I said, I wonder, just like, I don't know that I would give the simulacra a speed of 20 feet. Like, if you're imitating an elf, like a wood elf, I feel like its speed should be 35 feet. Like, it is the guy. I guess biologically, it is still the ooze.
Yeah, maybe that's like one of the subtle tells. Like, that guy's moving a little slow. He might just, you know what I mean? He might just be an ooze.
Yeah, a little potential point of investigation for someone who does their research. And then they have to figure out, like, how do we trick this thing into trying to run more than 20 feet? Like, do we just set the tavern on fire and see how fast people run, and then we know?
Who ran up slowly? Right, that's all of them.
Ooh, speaking of, fire is a whole other thing for this thing.
It is. And that was not an intentional bridging point, but I'm glad you brought it up. This thing has a massive a massive potential pressure point in that it has fire aversion. So anytime it gets hit with anything related to fire damage, it suddenly has disadvantage on any attack rolls and ability checks until the end of its next turn, which I probably shouldn't have told you, but still, you're what, an artificer, you said?
I could probably make some fire if I figure it out, yeah.
If he was appropriately prepared, he would have already read it himself, Aram.
First of all, I'm trying to balance player knowledge versus character knowledge. You know I'm bad with that, so I'm better just to go into ignorance.
I know you are. You're doing a good job, and I appreciate you as a co-host.
Thank you.
I also did sort of lampshade it because I specifically told you, like, hey, an artificer would probably be pretty good. Maybe give yourself the ability to do a fire thing, but don't build a fire guy.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Sort of thing where you could stumble into it reasonably, but not like your go-to move would be cast fireball on the fucking thing.
Anything else then for the discussion section?
Just that I absolutely love this creature with regards to, like, the roleplay potential. You can start to ask all these questions of yourself as a DM to create a more flavorful encounter. Like, what happens if someone gets attacked by this Oblex but runs away and manages to escape with most of their memories intact? Like, how does that impact them? Do they suddenly become an allegory for dementia? Or is there, like, maybe something where they can no longer do their job because they just straight up can't remember? And how will the party react when they run into that NPC from then on out? How will the NPC's family react? There's a lot of flavor potential there. And especially when it comes to the actual combat itself, it's something that is just such an amazing, and we talked about this briefly. My entire brand is telling people how to do things the easy way and trying to show people tools that they need to create more flavorful roleplay encounters. So you're not just, hitting things in combat, running away, hitting it again. And Oblexes in particular have such a good potential for revealing characters' backstories. Because if while they get hit by that sort of memory-sucking attack, the target experience is a flashback, maybe you can, as the DM, turn to your player and be like, okay, what's something from your childhood that you remember? And then the player gets a chance to step up, have a little monologue, describe some aspect of their backstory to everyone else in the party who may not have heard about that certain part of their backstory before. And it's just such good, easy opportunities for narrative roleplay and narrative combat as well.
Aram, we're going to start off with you. Tell me about your character for today.
So, Natasha is a scientist. She is intrigued about a variety of things alchemical, has probably at some point gone down the road of, I bet I could make gold before just giving that up entirely, but very much is into collecting samples and learning how to turn certain things into other things. She's very good at finding like, well, you could use that reagent for this spell, but this works just as well, and I've cornered the market on it. That's kind of her whole vibe.
There's a lot of people still using just guano and sulfur to cast fireballs. You have like a trademarked little sort of solution that just sort of...
You could keep swallowing spiders to cast spider acclaim. Or I have this resin, this really tacky resin that works just as well and isn't quite as disturbing.
Big spell component hates him.
Yeah.
Exactly. Those are all of my Google ads.
So you have a contact. There's a hedge witch that lives in a small little town just sort of east of your usual base of operations. Finds a bunch of weird stuff on the edges of the forest. Generally incredibly helpful. You haven't heard from her in a while. Now, we've previously discussed our little magical EPA.
Yes.
Where things get really concerning is one day you receive a sending. You are contacted by this agency, basically letting you know that she's been out of communication. But the thing is, with hedge witches, they're constantly monitored. There isn't any like rigorous training required to become a hedge witch. You just have to be near hedges. It's in the name.
But is that really how it works?
Yeah.
Really?
If you're in the city, you're like a dumpster witch. If you live near the ocean, it's a dune witch.
No way, I didn't know that. Okay.
I am lying, Aram.
Oh, so hard to tell with you.
The hedge witches, very little like security around them. So, you know, this agency will regularly like poke their head in, just make sure everything's good. Not only has she been out of contacts with her usual handlers, they sent someone out to investigate and have lost contact with them as well. Sendings are bouncing.
I don't work for the organization, but I have, through her, several times collected samples for the organization.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You are attached in a way where they're like, okay, we don't know what's going on. We're having trouble. We know you know how to contact this person. You can almost think of it like the magical probation office.
Right.
Trying to contact this person, they're just like, hey, listen, we got nothing. Do you know where they are? We know you're one of the usual contacts, right?
Right. And I'm not even someone that should be going in, but I happen to be in the area. I'm reliable. Sure. Absolutely.
There's a lot less structure and law to the fantasy world. Because, I mean, if there wasn't, you know, how are beholders happening? There's a hole in the fucking infrastructure somewhere that's allowing beholders to keep showing up.
Right. No, I think Natasha would definitely go investigate that, especially if she was somewhat nearby. She would go in person to investigate that.
So, what I want to know is effectively, one, how far a journey do you think this is? Like, is this someone who you're...
Probably long enough to go by horse.
Yeah. This is like a day or two out of town, the sort of thing where you're like bringing clothes along, you know?
And this is all on the expense account, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, she magic circled into the nearest large city, bought a horse for whatever gold she was allotted, and rode the horse into town from there. She basically rented a car from the airport she landed in and then rode out.
Bought a nicer sleeping bag for the road.
Yeah.
I'm keeping this. They're not getting that back.
The fanciest bedroll.
Tell me, what's the first thing you do getting into town?
I think she would just, just like a typical Western, ride right through the main street of town. Her rifle's on her back, her hat's pulled low, and she's just slowly riding through the main street of town. That's how she likes to arrive. She likes you know, the visual of heading down that center street.
A tumbleweed passes, even though there's no tumbleweeds around here.
Right. Right. Whatever version of a fantasy tumbleweed. Yeah.
It's just like a squirrel. There's a nice forest near here. There are hedges. We said that.
Right. Gotcha.
You come down just sort of the main street, and people know you. You're getting greeted. I want to know basically, like, do you sort of check into an inn? Is this like, do you have a normal place you stay with, some friends in the area? Are you going straight to the...
This isn't a very big town, right? So there's not necessarily an inn, but there's the equivalent of like an Airbnb. There's a woman with an older woman with a large house and just rents out rooms and has a little stable. So that's where I go every time.
For a while, this was one of those like up and coming towns that sort of stalled out. This is the widow of the guy who thought he was going to make it big and never sort of got to full mayoral status. And he just needs shit to do.
But he built the house with like the idea that he was going to entertain and like feed his political campaign. And that ends up working out great for an Airbnb, a little bed and breakfast.
Yeah, you get in, you give the big knock. She comes out to the door. Natasha, darling, are you... Do you have something interesting going on? Is this what's going on here? You're here to pick up something fun?
Unfortunately, I'm here on official business, just checking in on some people, saying hi.
She like kind of settles into like the conversation. She goes, Natasha, you and I know you don't do official business.
And she would like kind of like look to the left and look to the right and then kind of lean in like, well, I'm looking into our mutual friend. What is our mutual friend's name, Dylan? What is the name
of prick?
So I'm sorry, I don't know. I know, but I don't have one. Normally I would just give out the name, but I don't have a name in my head. This. So yeah. Which name?
Aurora's still around. What's going on?
Aurora. Well, she's missed a couple sending communications and a couple letters haven't gotten to where they need to be. So I just thought I'd come by and just check up on her myself.
Oh, she's probably just busy. Do you need a room? You need a room and you need some food?
I could use both.
Okay, we can get you that. We can do that. She sets you up, it's the standard little exchange, you have been here enough times that she's going to set you up. You're going to have a lovely little meal and you're not going to pay until you're leaving because she's just like, it's Natasha.
She does this lovely thing where she gives you a beer and a cheese and a wine. Like that's the little setup. Just like one little beer, one little cheese, one little wine, all things they make in town.
She knows your preferences too now, so it's all just like catered to. Anyway, you have a lovely little evening settling in. I want to know, like, basically, what's the plan of attack? Is this like going in first thing in the morning? Is this like an evening thing because witches is creepy?
I have a good relationship with Aurora. I have a good relationship with this witch, but witches are particular. So it's like, even though we have a good relationship, I think Natasha would always be a little bit cautious. So I think the night before, she would like go to whatever the equivalent of, like, there's probably a little bar here, go there, talk to the people she knows to get the background, and then head in the next morning.
So what you hear essentially is prescriptions are being filled, everything is being done, everything is normal, but everything is getting like rote. I want you to just give me, we're going to call this a raw intelligence check, because I think this being the episode that it is, you or Rom have a very strong inkling of what's going on.
Yes.
But the character themselves has nothing.
No, the character's not going into town going, well, this is the Oblex episode, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let me give you a straight intelligence. That is going to be a 10 plus 3 is 13.
It sounds like depression.
Yeah, and, that's not too uncommon for spellcasters.
I got Diana on that one, and I'm very pleased with it.
Higher intelligence spellcasters do tend to be prone to depression. That does line up. So.
She's a hermit. Lives on the edge of the town for a reason.
Yeah, clerics tend to do fine. It turns out that if your whole, like, meaning of life actually talks to you, you tend to be fine.
Right. Right.
The wizards, on the other hand, sad.
And then once I felt like I had a decent enough answer, and that's frankly good enough, then I would head to bed early and get up early because I know for a fact that this witch gets up early. In fact, that's one of the things where I was always like, maybe that's why she's evil. Because it's like always up at like 5 a.m. every single day without.
Goes for a jog like an asshole.
Happy as can be, whistling and shit.
Okay, so that is, for the record, Natasha's definition of evil. This person must be evil because she wakes up early and enjoys it.
Yes, 100%. I would also be suspicious.
Yeah, so you head out first thing in the morning and you head towards just this little grove where like it's sort of central. Like a lot of the places where she tends to harvest mushrooms are nearby. Some of the herb garden is like just kind of encroaching on the edge of the glade. It's a very easy, like, she won't necessarily be there, but it's good odds, right?
Yeah.
Diana, the thing that is Aurora, what do you think your current, like, how much are you keeping up appearances, I suppose is the question.
Aurora, or the thing pretending to be Aurora, is standing outside of her hut. Her hut itself is very much the same as the rest of the houses in town, but the roof itself is much more slanted, much more pointed, and actually goes all the way to the floor, and it's covered in this eerily bright green moss, always has been. But as you approach, you notice the moss itself is a little bit darker than it usually is. Just passively, you're like, oh, seems a little bit more neglected than usual. It's always been quite finely curated, quite finely grown using little hedge witch magic, druid craft, and that sort of thing. And you can definitely see spots of brown where it hasn't been as kept up as it should be. But nonetheless, it still looks like Aurora's working on it as you speak. You head up and you can see this woman with like this flowing, curly blonde hair, these long, dark green and kind of brown robes that are well worn through and well patched several times over, curly arms up, just kind of making small incantations under her breath and gesturing and slowly reviving maybe an inch at a time, a square inch at a time of moss and breathing a little bit of life back into it. But as you approach, she straightens up a little bit. You can see her shoulders kind of set, and she turns around and meets you with these smiling blue eyes that you're very used to seeing.
Aurora, having some troubles this morning? As she looks around at the various dead spots.
Roll an insight check for me.
That is going to be a 9 + 1 is 10.
You can sense that she seems a little surprised to see you, and she kind of like turns, meets your gaze, and then there's like a half second of almost like delay, sort of like she's buffering for a brief moment before her face breaks into a smile. And she goes, "Natasha, it's a pleasure to see you. How can I help you?"
And Natasha would just nod, and that makes sense because most of the time Natasha's like, I'll be there in 2 weeks. I've got X with me. Can I pick up X? You got to give Aurora a big enough lead to make sure that Aurora's fully stocked with whatever you need, right? And so it would be weird for me just to show up out of the blue just to say hi. So I would nod and be like, I'm doing all right. I was just coming by to make sure you were.
Yeah. Why wouldn't I be?
Well, the ministry's been trying to contact you and they haven't been hearing back.
The ministry. Yes, the ministry.
Yeah, the place you work for.
Yes. They are here, in fact.
Oh.
They've been here visiting for quite some time.
Give me a perception roll.
I'm not rolling great. That's going to be an 8 + 4 is 12.
There's some noise coming from the house. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, she seems a little distracted, but she always kind of does. Aurora's always thinking about 3 or 4 things at the same time. So it's almost like I get bits of her attention when I'm around her, so this wouldn't seem unusual either. All right, and she's like, oh, well, I guess they must have come themselves after they contacted me. So you've reached back out then? You've answered the sendings?
I have. Yes, the sendings. Sorry, it's a bit humid out here. Would you like to come inside? You can join us for tea.
Is it a bit humid outside? Let's just say it is. Why would she lie about that?
About the weather.
Actually, let's do something different here.
Okay.
we're going to give you one last perception roll.
Okay, fair enough.
Because frankly, if somebody turned to me and said, it's humid out here, let's go inside, I don't know that I would check in with
Every
myself.
Floridian ever discredited.
Frankly, whenever I'm offered to get out of humidity, I would just accept it no matter what it was told. I'd be like, crawl inside this giant open mouth. It's less humid inside. I'm like, okay.
Tracks.
And I rolled a 2, so that backs it up.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's just one of those, like, somebody says, hey, let's go inside, it's cold. And the only thing, like, even if you notice that it's not that cold, the first thought in your head is probably just, I don't feel cold.
Right, you're not gonna be like, it is not cold. I will not move from this location. No, you're right.
Unless it's fucking hot out, you're not arguing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would just nod and I would head inside or just follow them inside.
Perfect. Come on in.
At the table, when you go through the door, you immediately see like a halfling and a dwarf sitting at the table, drinking tea. You recognize Gearling, the halfling, is somebody who you know through the agency. You've had interactions with them before. You know them reasonably well. The sort of like, I would ask about your wife and kids because I know you specifically well enough to know that you have a wife and kids, and that's it. I haven't remembered anything you've told me about them.
I want to show that I'm aware of who you are and that you have children. Yeah.
And the dwarf's name is Bruce. You don't know him that well. He's been referenced before. Like, you know, he works with Gearling on a couple of like jobs, but you've never met him.
All right.
Like, you just recognize, like, if it's Gearling and there's a dwarf, probably Bruce.
So I'd walk in and I'd nod, Bruce, Gearling.
There's like a half second where they like run through, speaking to the audience who knows what's going on, like the Rolodex runs.
Sure. They're looking up the info.
Yeah. Both of them kind of give you the same sort of mumbled greeting, and you notice like Bruce goes, actually, again, just do the insight. We're gonna do a lot of these.
Sure, no, that makes sense. My insight is going to be a 19 plus 1 is 20.
Oh, nice.
Bruce nearly greets you by name and then stops himself short.
Right.
Gearling just is, Tasha, how you doing? You know. Imagine for a second, me and Diana are friends. You only have ever met me. You walk into a room and Diana goes, Aram.
Right. That's pretty average and pretty normal.
It's normal adjacent, basically, depending on how well you know the person. That's sort of the question. It's just like, would it be weird?
I caught the fact that the dwarf started to use my name and then stopped, and that just be maybe, and if I did check that, I'd be like, okay, they're overly familiar with me, but are hiding it, so they're into me. Like that's exactly how I would interpret that. I would interpret as that person being into me. Yeah, Bruce is into me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good looking. I see that, right? So I think she just kind of like, you know, coyly smile a bit, thinking she clocked that perfectly, and then she would take a seat at the table.
Yep, sounds
Kind
good.
of like a tension in the room sort of thing, which would be magnified by the fact that even though she followed you inside and closed the door behind you, Aurora didn't bother to take a seat at the table. She's just currently standing in the doorway and just has her hands kind of folded into the sleeves of her tunic a little bit, just watching with a slight smile. You're used to the smile. You're not used to the vibe.
And also, she's probably gonna make tea, so that wouldn't strike me as too off. I guess she would just, but she's also the kind of person that would fully take in a room. So she would sit, she'd make a small talk, but she's also scoping out the room around her.
We'll let you do the investigation just because I feel like you should succeed at least one finding stuff roll. If I make you roll perception again, you're not gonna find fire.
I'm good at investigation. That is going to be a 15 plus 6 is 21.
Absolutely. With a 15 plus 6, which is a 21, you would notice that you go and like take a seat at the table and you kind of walk around the dwarf in order to do so. And as you do, you feel a slight tension in the air, almost like you would walking through a spider web, and almost instinctively you go to bat it away from you and you look down at your hands right about waist level where it is, and you can see just a slight tendril floating through the air, almost like a hair. Invisible if you hadn't known and had such strong investigative skills passively, that connects from your dwarven friend through the room to like a small crack underneath a door that you know leads to a back closet. And kind of looking at it, you are in a little bit of shock and trying to see if you can maybe step over it or get around it so you can sit down and enjoy your fucking tea. But then you notice a similar tendril coming out from the halfling, from Gearling, also going underneath the same door, going through the closet. And in a half second, you have a moment to breathe, time slows, and instinctively, protectively, you look towards Aurora and you can see her smile, frozen to her face, still looking you dead in the eye, is the exact same as the other two. Same width, same smile, same expression, almost like a default. And a tendril reaches underneath the front door behind her.
You also catch the group is sitting at the table with teacups. There's liquid in those cups. You watch this, you see the door, and as you're kind of scanning over the room, you catch the kettle is on the shelf.
Right. It's not on the stove.
No water has been boiled. Like it, and it's like a hard, like cast iron. Like that thing is gonna retain heat like a motherfucker. Like if someone is drinking tea, that can't be put away.
I'm an alchemist. All these things would not just like track with me, but like be of special interest to me. Like this is my wheelhouse here, with not like directly, but like adjacent.
The idea of equipment used to handle liquids, yeah.
Well, that and just that and the oozes and the like all this kind of like touches bases with things I know. Is there any reason for me to instantly like something's weird, but like is there any reason for me to infer what's going on? There's no way there's that much knowledge about Oblex is spread into the world.
So here's what I'm gonna ask. Do you think this should be a reasonable DC, like still a high DC, but a reasonable-ish DC Arcana check with disadvantage because it's esoteric knowledge? Or do we go just a raw, like a real high number? I'm always at a toss-up for shit like this. Because like it feels like something that should be like a 25 or like a 30 DC, because it's like super you have to know about a shitload about oozes and a shitload about mind flayers and have
and
researched
magic,
the fucking
and psionics. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I put it at 25.
I hate setting DCs so high that players couldn't make them. You know?
A 25
Anyway,
I could hit.
a 25
with a good
25
roll.
Feels reasonable, so we're gonna call that an Arcana check.
All right, I'm rolling Arcana, and that is going to be a 16 plus 6 is 22. So not quite.
So this is all like, it's the fucking spiders at the corner of your brain, just sort of like scrabbling on the walls. Like you can feel it, you can see it at the corner of your eye that something's off, but like if you're not looking directly at it, you can't see them. They're too small.
Right, it just doesn't quite add up.
It's the itch of something is wrong and I know what it is. Like you broke a 20, so like I said, it is in there, but you can't make the jump to answer the fucking question.
So my next question would be, like, how do I test the theory, right? So what do I know about one of these three people that they find really annoying? Like, does one of them hate smoking? Does one of them not like cat? Like, is there some little piece of information that I could exploit to test what's going on here?
That's a good pull. Yeah, let's say like Gearling hates the smell of smoke.
Okay.
He doesn't like it when you smoke a pipe near him.
Have I been offered tea?
I'd say no. There's a third teacup laid out, and there's a teapot.
Right.
But no one's poured you anything.
Right.
And there's no steam coming from the teapot.
I think she would like just reach over, pick up the cup, finger it for a moment, put it in front of her, and then pull out a pipe. And as she's talking and casually packing it, and then lights it.
How do you light it?
With my Bic lighter. No, I mean, I guess.
Sponsor.
I don't know how people would light a pipe in ye olde days. To be able, you know what? I've got
A match, a lighter, a spell. You know, that's basically the.
I have a way to magically produce a flame. To just point, create a little flame, and then just like basically touch the top of it, and it just lights up.
It's not the I hate smoke flinch, the table and Aurora all flinch back from the fire.
Okay, that's too weird. All right, take one long draw on this pipe, blow it out the other side of my mouth, stand up, and just begin to walk around, just to kind of walking around, making like a very casual way to that door, but not in a direct line. The whole time talking about how, well, seems like everything's going great, and I'm so glad that you two have talked, but boy, I wish you told me before I came all this way out. You know, it's like just keeping the air filled with my voice until I can get close enough to that door.
Yeah, and you see, like, the smoke drifts over Gearling. I'm going to ask you for one more perception check.
Oh, right, because smoke can reveal things. If I was smarter, I would have thought of that.
That's also not the angle I was taking, but sure.
11 plus 4 is 15.
Every time, if the smoke gets in his face, there's a little bit of a cough. He waves it away. So you're, like, watching the smoke near his face. It doesn't move.
Just blow right in his direction and nothing happens.
Not only does he not respond, like he doesn't cough, he doesn't like wave it up. It's a puff of smoke. It should move towards his breathy holes. He's not inhaling.
Oh, it's just cash. There's no like there's a ray of sunlight coming in through the side window. I can see the smoke perfectly, and it just flows over him, hangs in the air, and nothing ever moves.
No disturbing the cloud. It's just smoke in the air, as if you blew it at a rock.
Oh, that's bad. Okay. Yeah, and I'm just gonna like pretend like I'm not bothered and make my way to the door.
You would probably get within maybe 2 feet of it. Your hand is actively reaching out towards the doorknob, and you feel a little unnerved, but at the same time, you know what's beyond this closet. You know that it's just shelves full of dried herbs and bits of food and things like that. Nothing crazy.
I've stocked this closet. I've put jars up as I come in and like just casually putting up what I've brought to her, and then as for having, yeah, absolutely.
Easy enough. It's where you go to get all your ingredients. But yet, as you reach towards the doorknob, you can hear a scraping sound, 2 scraping sounds behind you, as both the dwarf and the halfling you kind of turn and meet their gaze. They both push their chairs back away from the table, dropped their teacups, and are now standing, shoulders set, feet apart, staring at you. As is Aurora, her hands have dropped away from her tunic, and all 3 of them have the exact same expression, all looking over at you, all glaring, and all 3 simultaneously breaking into a smile. This is where you're gonna have to roll initiative.
I'm going to take some liberties with how they respond as well, in that, like, when they stand up, did you say if you were like human, elf, whatever
I am a human.
Very hard for a dwarf and a halfling to be intimidating. They stand up taller than you. Like, they just get taller than you to be intimidating.
That's good.
That's all the confirmation I need. That's something weird. It's like, yeah,
Shit's fucked.
Yep. And I have to roll initiative.
Yes.
There's a good number. Okay, that is a 17 plus 2 is 19.
I got a 14.
Okay, I don't fully know what's going on, but I know it's something bad. And as an alchemist and as a person who studies these kind of things, especially like magical leavings, the idea of like mucuses and connection, like whatever this is, it's bad. There's something in this closet that is bad. So without even really looking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to whip this door open, cast Flaming Sphere, and slam the door back shut. That's what I'm going to do. There was a reaction to fire. I don't even know what I'm fighting, but that's how I'm going to react.
At that point, with just like the half glance that you would have gotten as you go to cast the spell, your vision is temporarily engulfed by flames. Right in the background, in the shadows, where there's a slight bit of illumination through the dust, a sunbeam coming through a tiny slit of a window, ricocheting off of glass jars full of unknown substances. You would see a slightly green tinged blob in the center of the closet. It is large, it is massive, and it is actively roiling. And in the back of your brain, some primal part of you can sense, in just like the brief glimpse that you got, faces pressing out of it, almost as if someone was like pushing their head through mesh, where they weren't fully formed, they all seemed blank, and you saw maybe 5 or 6 of them, different shapes and sizes, and that's all you got before the flames kind of burst into the room.
Nothing that would make him go, I haven't made the right call.
There was something there.
Yeah, there's something there, and it's probably worse than I was thinking. Okay, well then, Flaming Sphere lasts for concentration up to a minute. It creates a 5-foot diameter a sphere of fire that appears in an unoccupied space of your choice. So it couldn't be like right there, but like to the side of whatever the creature is.
But it damages within 5 feet of the sphere.
Correct.
So that
and probably starts lighting things on fire.
But the damage happens at the end of its turn.
Right.
Or at the end of the thing's turn. So currently what has happened is you opened the door and created a fire. That will matter later.
Right.
And I'm going to take the standard tact of environmental shit is going to happen on 20.
Just slammed it shut, and like I'm now facing the room.
Oh, you got 30 feet of move, so like you could in theory try to run past the 3 people.
I don't want to run because I want to do one more thing on my turn here. Otherwise, I would run. That would be the most sensible thing. But there's one more thing I need to do to make sure I've handled this. So I'm gonna brace myself and just stay for a moment and see what happens.
Okay. Diana. So,
you would hear all 3, or maybe it's 4, voices in the witch's hut kind of rise into almost a scream. What languages do you know?
Oh, good question. I know Draconic, and I know Elven, and I know Common.
You hear all 3 at once.
Oh, that's not good.
All screaming, flames, fire, smoke, all in like a cacophony rising over each other. And at the same time, the Bruce and Gearling both begin taking steps towards you. Not as fast as you're used to. You've seen them move before, you've seen them in action. They kind of move a little bit more slowly than you would expect, both wielding not weapons, but their fists.
actually, it's a halfling and a dwarf. They're about the right speed.
Sorry, yeah, a dwarf would actually. Dwarves are 25, don't they?
Yeah,
Just in
just
a fun turn
slightly
of
slower.
events.
There is something particularly menacing about someone moving with purpose slightly slower than you'd expect towards you.
They each raise their fists, not going for their weapons at their sides, but instead just looking to pummel you. One of them goes to throw you back against the closet door that you just opened. It's going to use one attack, which is going to be a 13 to hit.
A 13 does hit me. I'm not armored up.
Oh, you're not? Oh.
No, I'm just walking into a town.
Aram likes to play these things very like, this is what we said was happening.
I'm an alchemist. I'm not riding into town on horseback just to say hi in a full set of whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I got travel clothes on.
So Bruce reaches you first and immediately goes and does like a shoulder slam against you. 9 bludgeoning damage. And then you feel, as his shoulder slams into you, what you imagine to be almost a series of claws, which shouldn't be protruding from that part of his body, that dig into your skin a little bit. It's almost as if there's a hand reaching out from the side of his body and scraping you as you kind of pull back. You take an additional 9 psychic damage. And you go to look and you're wondering what hit you, and there's nothing there. It's just Bruce's shoulder.
So it feels like hands reached out from his shoulder and scraped at my mind.
A little bit. It's more you're unnerved.
Yeah, that's a little unnerving.
Gearling heads up, and before you have a second to kind of react, you're busy looking for what the hell just hit you or affected you or hit your mind, you think. You get a second attack from the other side of your body, which is only a 12 to hit.
Okay, a 12 does hit. It meets my armor.
Cool. Immediately, you can see Gearling goes, and he just goes in straight for a headbutt, which is interesting. He's a halfling. He shouldn't be this tall, and it's unnerving meeting his eyes as he comes towards you. You take another 11 bludgeoning damage, and you feel his head slam into yours, and your brain feels like it's being torn through. You have another 8 psychic damage on top of that. Kind of reel back. You begin feeling behind you for the door of the closet. And in this like echoing ringing in your brain, you can hear, it's almost like tinnitus. You need to make a wisdom saving throw.
That is going to be a 15 plus 1 is 16.
Okay. You force yourself to focus. These are your friends. You've known them for a while. You know that they're not like this. Or are they? Or are they not them? And you kind of like force the ringing out of your brain and refocus in on them. Aurora is still in the background, noticeably. You do have a second to see her still just kind of standing in the doorway, but she feels bigger. Puffed up almost. She's not a melee fighter, but she's acting like one.
This is an overwhelming assault. In the moment, in this immediacy, Natasha would feel like she's going to die.
First things first, Aram. Diana, I need you to make a dex save.
Oh boy, that is a 9.
That is not going to do it.
Okay, so Aram, that's lower than your DC, so you're going to take 2d6 fire damage. Aram, roll for your flaming sphere.
That is a hefty 11.
All of the Oblex's attacks and ability checks from here on are going to have disadvantage.
Okay.
Aram, I need you to make me...
2 concentration save.
I don't remember the exact numbers. You need to make 2 concentration saves.
The first one is a 17 total, and the second one is a natural 20.
All right, so you hear that scream echo through everything again as we, the audience, recognize that the Oblex takes fire damage. And then you start your turn. For the initiative count 20, Aram, I want you to roll me a d20. On a 20, something important catches fire.
Okay, hang on.
Every round, that number is going to get lower.
That is going to be a 19.
Yep. Well, wrong round for that.
All right, so I saw them react to the flame. I tossed fire into this room. I saw them all react even stronger to the flame. Then I heard some sort of psychic scream and saw all of them react to the pain. I'm going to run, but right before I do, I'm going to do one last thing to make sure that this was worth it. As she's pressed against the door, as these hands are coming for her face and throat as she's being head-butted, she just leans back, presses one finger against the door, and casts Arcane Lock. The only time I have ever purposely remembered this spell, and it's been useful in the entire time I've played Dungeons & Dragons, just happens to be tonight.
Beautiful.
That is not a concentration spell.
It is not. I checked to make sure it's not a concentration spell.
And it's only an action?
Ooh, good boy.
Oh, I should keep this spell around more often.
It is more effective than you would think, and this game is actually going to prove that rather well, I think.
Yeah, no, that is fucking clever. Full points, man.
Once I know it's locked in there, I'm going to run. And I'm going to run in a way where I run out the door and then run around the back to make sure that I keep within the range of the flaming sphere while also getting away safely.
Which means I would get an attack of opportunity.
Yep, you're going to take that attack.
Fortunately, they're at disadvantage.
I think it's just one.
There's only one creature.
What? Oh,
There's only
right.
one creature here.
I didn't think about that. Even with all the multiple arms, it's still gonna only be able to take one attack of opportunity.
It's one guy. It has one reaction.
Did not make its attack though. It rolled a 2, which would have been a 9 to hit total.
Still
so you can
close.
hear it screaming, and the screaming gets closer to your ear as you turn and try and shut your eyes and your concentration to it as best you can. And it gets close, but it doesn't quite hit you. But you hear the gnashing of 2 teeth, 2 sets of teeth clicking together, and you can get the sense that something just tried to bite you. You think? Jesus.
This thing's terrifying.
30 feet, I'm going to say, is enough where you can kind of shove the table out of the way, push your way past Aurora,
Right.
get out the door and start curving around. But 30 feet is not enough to make the full round.
Not enough to get away. Yeah.
Aram, how many people are in a standard team to check on something like this for the ministry?
I think we've always established 3-person teams.
Yep.
So as I run out the back door, push my way around as I'm sprinting back, because the only hope I have now that this whole thing's going to burn and take this thing with it. I think my brain has reached the point where I'm like, there's some sort of hive thing. I don't know what it is, but I know enough about creatures to understand that there are hive things. So there is a hive thing that hates fire.
And fortunately, you're trying to stay within range of Flaming Sphere, which is 60 feet, which means anything that could be attached to the Oblex has to be within 120 feet. You're definitely within range of, I don't know. Diana, how are you with names?
Fantastic, because I just pull my old OCs.
That's such a smart way to do it.
No one will ever know.
You can see a lithe elven figure in relatively nice clothing, still the same colors as the rest of the organization, but you recognize this as the team leader for this particular squad, Aram, the druid, the most knowledgeable of the group. And yet in her normally serene, composed, diplomatic expression, you can see just anger and pain and a single silvery, almost transparent thread leading back into the house behind her.
I would still have a bonus action, and I think in that moment she would curse in Elven, but that also happens to be her healing word. So as a bonus action, she would curse.
Can't cast 2 leveled spells in a round.
Right, I can't do it. Okay, then she would just curse. Fuck. Fuck is the same. It's the same in Elven and Dwarven. It's universal.
Mm-hmm. Diana, it's your turn.
Immediately, the source, Oblex, is going to burst its way, use its movement to go through the one slit of a window that's in that walk-in closet.
Right.
And you can hear a shattering of glass and a thud as it can move through any space that is at least an inch wide without squeezing.
I didn't catch that. God, that's good.
There's no way I could have accounted for. I knew there was a window in that room, but my first thought would be that's too narrow for anyone to get out of, because I know it jams and doesn't get past 2 inches wide.
Would we say it exits through the same side of the house that you're standing on?
Yeah, or at least in the back, because I'm running towards it. I'm literally running towards where that window would be.
As your eyes focus on Aram standing in front of you, glaring down at you, right behind her over your shoulder, you can see the glass explode outward. And then rolling out of it is that bright green, except slightly singed, slightly scorch-marked blob. And as it tumbles out the window, you can see slight protrusions that look almost like feet, but half-formed that land and hit the ground beneath it before the rest of the body does, almost softening the blow. And it tumbles out a little bit and then rises in a grand column. We'll say that the creature in front of you, the elf, as your attention shifts back to her, just immediately shoots her hand outward and a slight green sparkle dances across her fingertips. I need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
15 plus 1 is 16.
Oh, you can see in between you and her, some slight sparkles grow into these spirals a little bit, almost like fireworks, and they look a little hypnotic, and you immediately wave them away. She went to cast Hypnotic Pattern, and you made a save.
Where my horse is hitched, can I see it from where I am?
Yes.
Okay, Vortex Warp.
You can't vortex warp yourself.
You magically twist space around, another creature you can see within range. Fine. You know what? I will Vortex Warp the horse to me.
Okay.
Oh.
Come here, Betsy, let's go.
So this is, I'm going to say, just a riding horse.
Yeah, just a horse.
Cool.
But with a Vortex Warp it, use a movement action to get onto it.
And then you can start moving.
And I will move horse distance, because we're just going to run. I have confirmed what I've been sent here to do. There is no reason for me to stay.
You've hit the end of the Oblex's turn, so the effect of the fire has been gone. Diana, you want to make an attack of opportunity without disadvantage?
I would love to, and that is at least a 17 to hit, plus 7, whatever that is.
Yeah, the AC of a horse is 10.
So the horse immediately takes 10 bludgeoning damage, plus
Oh, there's no way a horse can take plus.
another 7 psychic damage.
The horse sees the most horrific memory of an elven druid who has lived hundreds of years out in nature, seeing predators tear apart other animals.
Oh, this poor horse.
It is hitting the back end harder than it should be by any measure. And its ass basically flies out to one side. And then you see like just a split second where the horse fully has a stroke and drops dead.
Do I have to roll some sort of thing to like not be crushed under the horse's weight?
Yeah, give me a dex save. I don't remember how tall horses are off the top of my head. I haven't been around one in a while, but I'm going to say it's high enough to potentially take a d6.
That is a natural 20. I dismounted that dying horse so gracefully.
Ooh.
Just a battle roll. Like, oh, fuck that horse. That's over.
I don't even stop moving. I'm still running.
Aram, roll a d20 to see how bad the fire catches.
Ooh, okay. That is going to be an 18.
Yeah, still one shy.
Man.
By now, the sphere's definitely gone out, but of course, the room's just on fire at this point.
It takes some level of movement to get on the horse, so let's just say you made it about 25 feet away, give or take.
Sure. Yeah.
Diana, it is your turn.
Man, 25 feet away is rough. You've stumbled across the major limitation of this creature,
Right.
and that it has a 20-foot movement speed, including any of its little bits. So
You do also have Aurora, who is in the hut and presumably moving behind him anyway. So I think it would be reasonable to have a simulacrum basically catching up. You can see the other two like stalking out too slowly, but
If I went out the door, I would have gone left because I wanted to stay within the range
Yeah.
of the creature. Then I faced an enemy I didn't want to face, so I summoned a horse and went the opposite way, which would bring me back into Aurora's range.
that makes sense. So you would just kind of turn and see her staring at you, and you can see that her features at this point are not at all what they should be. You can see that they're kind of slipping a little bit. Her eyes have grown a little bit too wide. Her smile or her grimace has grown a little bit too wide, similarly to starting to reach up to her ears. Her nose is a little bit shifted off to the side, and her limbs are all disproportionate. One is longer than the other, and you notice that the longer one in particular reaches out and lashes out towards you with a scratching motion. That is definitely going to hit for the first attack, and I'll just go ahead and roll the second attack as well. I rolled a 16 plus 7, so
That'll do it.
second attack not nearly as good. So you only get hit the once with the super
It might be enough.
which is going to be a 7 bludgeoning damage plus another 11 psychic damage.
So 18 total?
And then another wisdom saving throw if you're still up.
I'm not still up. That was just enough to take me down.
roll the wisdom save anyway. You're rolling it at disadvantage because you are unconscious now, but you haven't died.
Oh, well, the highest roll is 15. 14 plus 1 is 15.
That meets it, beats it.
I guess what it comes down to is just what would the Oblex do with an unconscious body?
You would begin to see, as you start to black out, you're kind of like lying on the grass staring up, and you can see that Aurora is immediately standing over you. Her facial features at this point have melted to a point being almost entirely off of her face. It looks almost like a clean slate. Her features still reaching towards you, and her fingers have become elongated and spiked and slimy almost. And just behind her, you can see Arafine and Bruce and Gearling all kind of stepping out towards you, leaning over you simultaneously. And even though some of them were outside at the time, they all have scorch marks appearing across their body. And they reach over, and in your dying moments, they're just going to attempt to... Let's do this. You can see as Aurora's claws kind of reach towards you, they plunge themselves into your chest. And we can say that for the rest of your semi-consciousness, mildly unconscious flavor text type thing, that you need to make another wisdom saving throw as opposed to death saving throws.
I like that quite a lot. This one is going to be an 8 plus 1 is 9.
The wisdom save is going to hit. You're going to get the memories, because that's immediately he's memory drained, just gains that status effect, and takes damage, which is an immediate third failed save.
How would that feel from my perspective? What am I seeing there?
For the most part, you kind of have two selves at this moment. You have your physical self kind of like staring up, and the edges of your vision are growing black. You can only feel not the ground below you anymore, and you can barely even see these other faces as they start to fall apart around you, but you just feel these claws, or what you think are claws, plunging into your chest, but they feel soft, they feel slimy, they feel extremely cold, and that cold just kind of spreads, and your vision is engulfed by darkness. And then you blink, and all of a sudden you're standing in an alleyway of a busy city. You look around you, you can hear voices kind of calling out, a couple peddlers trying to shout out their wares at nearby passerbys, someone selling fruit, someone selling snake oil, some of which you've definitely sold them a couple weeks ago, but right in front of you right now, you can see this half-elven, relatively young for a half-elf type person standing in front of you. They have this short mohawk of bright yellow hair, and for a moment, you recognize them. This is Libris, who is a student at the nearby magical college, and you can see that they have their hands outstretched. They're very confident in how they do so. They're not even looking around to see if anyone's watching, but you instead are, and kind of nervously you check to make sure no one's looking, and you pull out 2 potion bottles from your belt. Both have this like blue sparkly liquid inside that kind of shines in the light a little bit, and Libris goes and grasps at one of them and holds it up to the light, kind of shakes it around, and as it moves, it turns a bright violet color and then settles back into blue. And she just kind of nods a little bit, puts it away, reaches for the other one, holds it up, and swirls it. But this time, the bottle's empty. There's nothing inside. But they don't seem to react differently. They still regard it with the same approval, just kind of like looking it over. And you remember that this potion in particular was something that you were trying to sell them for one of their classes. You're trying to pass a potions class, and you're quite used to selling your wares to nearby college students to get them to pass their classes. You can make a little bit of money off the side, and this particular potion was something that would change someone's hair color instantaneously if they drank it. And remembering this, you kind of regard Libris's hair color, and all of a sudden you look up and you notice that their face is featureless. There's no nose, no eyes, no nothing. It seems like a blank slate, and that look of sort of positive regard is completely gone, and you just see almost like a gloved hand. There's no fingers, no individual digits anymore. They're losing their features as they tuck it away, and this person holds out a little wad of cash. And you regard it, you take it almost automatically. It's no big deal to you. It took like maybe 2 weeks to brew these potions. You think? Maybe 2 months? You actually have no idea how long it took you to brew these. What were these potions again? You kind of pocket the money, look up again, and at this point, the student whose name you already forgot has been entirely replaced. There's no features anywhere. There's no more body. In fact, it's just a column of pulsing green slime. A series of faces kind of like poking out of it every once in a while towards you, almost like a heartbeat. And this creature moves towards you and embraces you. The same way you're used to whenever you make a deal. People are pretty friendly, but this embrace lasts a little too long and gets a little too close and is a little too suffocating. And in your last moments, you feel just confusion. You don't know who you are. You don't know why you're standing here. You don't know what this thing is, but it feels welcoming.
The whole time I'm just forgetting. So initially I'm like, well, what is this creature? And then it gives me a hug and I'm like, I think hugs are good. Wait, what are hugs? And then as I'm being pulled in and I can't breathe, I'm like, what was breathing? And then that's the last thought as I get pulled in. Thank you for joining us for the Oblex.
If any of the ideas we've discussed on the show have sparked some of your own, tell us about it on Twitter at KEM Podcast. You'll find me at DJ Malenfant and Aram at Aram Vartian.
For ad-free episodes, early releases, bonus episodes, print-ready maps, our new audio DMs notes, and my character sheets for each encounter, head over to patreon.com/deadghostpro.
Our intro theme and many of the sound effects you hear in the show were created by Battle Bards. Check them out at battlebards.com.
This episode was produced by Aram Vartian and Dylan Malenfant. I also did the editing. We were joined by Diana Fay. You can find Diana on Blue Sky at dianaoftherose.com. And if you are anything like me and all of that information just fell right out of your head, you'll find everything you need at killeverymonster.com.
And we'll see you next time for Kill Every Monster.